713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest, flying rider. I get those goosebumps every time I'm around. Cause I'm hard to make everything go fine. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, we can throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mags.
Yes, sir.
Good evening and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are back again for another away days. The big match preview, and you look, he's already on screen. No better man to have on from Bournemouth than Tom Jordan. You're back finally. Tried to get audio over the last season or so, but so hard to track down these days. But we've got you back on. Welcome back to the channel, mate. It's a pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. And yeah, you still haven't beaten us. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to do that thing again where I say, yeah, you'll definitely beat us, and then jinx it in a good way. So yeah, I'm happy to be back.
Definitely, yeah. I've just been on another channel, and they asked me to kind of preview this game today, and I said exactly that. I was like, we still haven't beat Bournemouth, like with Eddie Howe. It's like I refer to it as a hoodoo. Like it's like a hoodoo curse. We had one in the early 2000s where we couldn't win in London for love nor money. But yeah, this is the one that we're after. But look, it's a pleasure to have you back on. And the main man he's arrived. He's finally decided to.
Yeah. Apologies, mate. I was getting mixed up with the Bournemouth reaction show, so I went on YouTube earlier and I was like, 7 o'clock sounds. I'll be ready for 7. And Pete messaged me is like, are you coming on or? So yeah, Tom, lovely to have you on, mate, and apologies for my lateness, but yeah, I've been looking forward to this one. It's nice to have you back on, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Nah, good stuff. And look, if anybody's asking the question, why are you doing away days on a Friday? You normally do it on a Thursday, and that is right. We normally do. However, there's a reason for that. Is because we wanted Tom to come on and to preview the game, but Tom was busy on Thursday, busy mingling with the stars. He was I'll let you explain a little bit more, but it is the 125th anniversary of Bournemouth, and you guys were invited to the evening. There's you guys in the team, and Tom did send me this last night, and I was very, very jealous and envious of him. Someone we might recognise who was there in the evening last night. One of our old favourite legends that just left this summer, Matt Ritchie. Look, Tom, talk to us about it, mate. What was the evening all about? How was it? And most importantly, how was it meeting this legend?
Yeah, he's great, Matty. Fortunate enough, we've had him on back in COVID, and he was great then. It was a real pitchy moment because I saw him and he went, love the channel to me. I thought, gee, I can't believe he watches. So it was amazing. But yeah, it was a 125th year anniversary of the football club. So we're wearing kind of special shirts on Sunday to commemorate it. And so we had loads of like the old teams there, kind of some really, some of the best teams we've had, from great escapes with a lot of Eddie's team. Obviously Eddie and Jason couldn't be there for understandably. And then we had other teams that, the kind of the most successful team before Eddie was Harry Redknapp's team. So we had them there. So it was a right variety of different sides. And yeah, Matty was there, and unfortunately he couldn't carry on drinking after because he's now playing for Portsmouth, isn't he? Yeah. So he is back playing, which is I'm glad he's still playing. So he couldn't carry it on after. But yeah, everyone was great. Some of the kind of current staff and that there, and yeah, it was just a really good night, mate. Just like dinner and drinks and that with a lot of Bournemouth legends. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
Brilliant stuff. Sounds like a quality night. And when you got Matt Ritchie there, it's always going to be a good night. He's a great professional for us, really good servant. Obviously, it was the right time for him to leave Newcastle with where we're kind of progressing to, and he obviously wants to continue playing. And like I think we're the same, Chris, in terms of we echo what Tom said in that we're just glad he's continuing and playing football.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Tom mentioned, that obviously he wasn't drinking, I thought, yeah, I did actually think to myself, yeah, it's typical Matt Ritchie, like ultimate professional. And yeah, certainly a legend at the club. So yeah, I bet you were made up to see him, Tom. I was going to drop a Ryan Fraser joke in there, but you know what? I'll leave it. I won't say anything. I wondered whether you might have seen him yesterday, but no.
No, I think for Tom, thankfully so. I'm not sure if Tom, can you hear us okay?
I couldn't hear Chris very well there, if I'm honest.
Oh, sorry, mate.
It was
probably for a good reason.
Yeah.
He was making a Ryan Fraser reference, Tom.
Oh God, I would have left. So I'm glad I didn't hear it. He would have been no way near that dinner last night. I tell you.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Chris, I knew he didn't hear it because, like, as soon as Ryan Fraser was mentioned, I was expecting.
Right.
I was waiting for an expression, and he just never said that. And I was
waiting
thinking,
for him to play football again.
yeah,
mate. Absolutely.
No doubt. Someone in the chat will ask a question to you, Tom, about Ryan Fraser at some point. But look, massive thanks for everyone in the chat. Get your questions in for Tom because we're going to cover it a question section as part of this show. So we will get to that very, very soon. But Tom, just want to discuss with yourselves. I've had a number of different conversations with a number of various different fans of other clubs in the Premier League, and there was one fan. Well, I say more than one fan. There was a number of different fans, but there's one in particular that mentioned you guys being potential European candidates this season. Now, on top of that, our own manager, a manager that we love, and so do you, also in his press conference today, referred to you as European candidates. Now, you've had a really good sort of end of the season. You had a really good end to the season. You've made some fantastic signings. Do you consider yourselves European candidates? And what are your expectations for this season?
Yeah, I don't really want to say the E word yet. I mean, it's bad that we're talking about it, but I suppose you could look at teams recently in terms of Brighton and, kind of Palace and Fulham and them sort of teams. And we should be in that conversation with them guys. So I appreciate that. I think losing Solanke's probably made me think that's not going to happen. Obviously, we've replaced him, but, it's a big ask. Dom scored a lot of goals for us last season. But yeah, we have got a really good squad, to be fair. We come 12th last season. So if you have any sort of progression, you think, it's the Andoni Iraola's first season managing in this country and he got us 12th. So you think if we can kick on a little bit, you're not far away. So yeah, I mean, it would be amazing. I think if we can just progress on last season, so around 12th, a little bit higher, if we can get top half, that'd be amazing. And if we can maybe beat the points tally, I think that would be ideal. But yeah, you got to dream a little bit. So yeah, why not? But I think, still got a little bit of time in the window. I think if we get a goalkeeper in, which is kind of the priority at the moment, then yeah, who knows? And like with everyone, as you guys know as well, injuries are the main thing. If you can keep your squad fit, then you got a chance. But a few injuries to key players, and then you're quickly falling down the table. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely,
Tom.
Chris. Go.
I was just going to ask Tom.
Go for it.
What was your overriding feeling, Tom, when you got that 65 million for Solanke? Because from the outside looking in, I know he had a fantastic season last season and scored a lot of important goals, and I think to me it almost felt like you've sold him at just the right time, given that you've got such a premium price. Is that how Bournemouth fans feel, or are you absolutely devastated to lose him, or are you thinking that's a good sum of money to get for Dominic Solanke?
Yeah, I think we all feared he'd probably leave. There was, like I said, that 65 million kind of clause for a Big Six club. And I think most Bournemouth fans would have said, to be honest, they just don't want anyone to come in. As no one bids, brilliant. But you're looking at it now, and I think, as you said, Chris, it's very good money. We've managed to, we haven't been done where kind of Levy and Tottenham have gone, here's 30 million, and we've gone, go on then. we've kept it. We've got the best value we could get. As you say, it was only one season, so and weirdly he played every single game for us last season, and he's out this weekend injured.
Yeah, he can't play. Yeah,
unbelievable. It's one of them players where I'm gutted for him. It was a bit like when Callum went. Like, I really want Dom to do well, and get in the England squad, because I think he's probably got more chance now that he's not with little Bournemouth anymore. But yes, we're going to miss him, and it's easy to say we replaced him with a really good striker, but Dom done a lot for us. I mean, he got the numbers last season, obviously in terms of goals, but ever since he's been here, we've always kind of felt, if he gets a few more goals, he'd get a few more headlines, because he was so integral to the way we played, and we couldn't really function when he wasn't there. So it's going to be interesting to see how we adapt to it. But as you say, Chris, I think we've got the best deal we could have.
100%, mate.
Yeah, definitely. However, you went and used that money to get in your own striker, and he's in. Ivan Nilsson from Porto, I believe. A player that we were linked with, Graham Bailey, a friend of the channel, had linked us with him back in, I think it was like April, May time when he came onto the channel. So it was a player that we were aware of, and then obviously you've gone and signed him as a replacement. Now, I believe this will be his first game for the club. How much do you know about Ivan Nilsson, and what was the reaction with him being signed? Was there a sense of excitement? What was the general feel knowing that he's coming to the club?
Yeah, it was definitely excitement. Just for the fact, I mean, when they're Brazilian, it always helps. You guys know that. Definitely gives you something. And but I think the fact that he was playing in the Champions League last season, I think he's got a hat trick in the group stage of the Champions League, which is not a bad little stat. Obviously scoring goals for Porto, obviously, Portuguese league, but a big club. To be called up to the national squad already is quite impressive, especially when it's Brazil. So definite excitement, and no disrespect to these players I'm going to mention, but when Dom left, the kind of early rumours were Eddie Nketiah, Cameron Archer, them sort of players, and we kind of thought, they're not bad players, but I don't see them doing what Dom Solanke did. So I think this one feels a little bit more like, the pedigree, and to know that we can attract a player from centre forward from Porto is really impressive. So it's showing that they're obviously buying into something. These players that are coming here, we've got quite a few now in terms of you Justin Cliver and a few of the young lads at the back that you think, really should they be going to Bournemouth? They're obviously buying into something. So that's the main thing. And to be honest, I was really, really pleased that we just got it done quickly. He just didn't get his work permit in time to start the first game. But he's had a 4 weeks training with us now, which is important. But I didn't want to get to the end of the window and every club knowing how desperate we are for a striker and putting their price up. So I'm really looking forward to him. I assume he will be for starting on Sunday.
Yeah, if only our Newcastle United had done the same, not waited till the last week of the window to try and secure their centre back, we might have been in a better position. And still no nearer to knowing what the situation is. But
hey, we gave you one of ours. That should be enough.
We did, and I do want to touch on that. We'll definitely come to that next. But just before we do move to Newcastle, and in particular Lloyd Kelly, I wanted to touch on you've got Ivan Nilsson. You've signed Dean Huijsen as well, who, again, another player that we were heavily linked with, very, very talented centre-back. Has there been a change in terms of recruitment style, in terms of the type of player that you're going for? You talked about the profile, Eddie Nketiah to Ivan Nilsson is very much different in terms of profile. Has there been a change at the club? You obviously lost Richard Hughes, who's gone to Liverpool. Is that been the change in terms of the type of player you're going for, or did that come previously? What has changed within the club? Because it is very noticeable for someone like ourselves outside of Bournemouth to see the type of profile of player that you're going for.
Yeah, I think, obviously we did lose Richard Hughes, but I do feel that it'll be interesting to see, I think, in the next few windows if there's a big change in that perspective. But he's even since he's been there, we've slowly started doing it. I think what's changed is last season with Iraola, I think, and the style of football, I think it's probably the first time we've ever been in the Premier League, and I haven't really seen anyone tip us to go down. Now, that never happens everywhere. Every media outlet, Sky Sport, they're all Bournemouth to go down. And I always kind of, get it. But I haven't really seen it this time round. And I think with the style of football and only play, we've got some big results. Obviously beat you guys. We went Old Trafford and won comfortably. And I think it's just a lot of people are looking at us now going, actually, are they starting to establish themselves a little bit? And equally, we're aware that these young players that are coming in, we've got a very young squad, and we'll know that we're a little bit of a stepping stone. We get that. But I think they look at it now and go, the way Andoni plays, the way Bournemouth play in the Premier League, if you go there as a youngster and perform on the bigger stage in the Premier League, playing really good attacking football, you're only going to go one way, because you either stay with Bournemouth and progress, or you're going to get snapped up. And I think that's what we're doing. I think every season we'll probably lose a big player. Obviously, this time around it was Dom, but we've got some really young defenders. Obviously, you mentioned Howson there. We've got Zabadi, who's excellent as well, Kirkes, and them sort of players might end up going, but we're going to make a profit every single time. We're getting really good deals in, and as I say, the age profile. And yeah, I guess at the moment it feels like a no-brainer to go to Bournemouth, because you can play good football, and then you're going to get looked at by some really big clubs, and if you want to go to the next step, you can. So yes, it's definitely exciting, and as I say, it's probably the first season I thought we ain't going nowhere, which is weird but nice.
Yeah, definitely. For me, and look, Chris, I'll come to you on this. Bournemouth do seem like a team that's well established in the Premier League now after their performance this season, next season. I was going to come to this before we went to the Dominic Solanke conversation, but I'll kind of rewind back to you, Chris, really quickly. Do you see them as European candidates? Like, where do you see Bournemouth's position now in the Premier League? They do look very much an established Premier League side, but what have you made of Bournemouth from what you've seen last season, and of course their business over the summer as well?
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth have slowly but surely steadied themselves in the Premier League now, and like you say, I think I do class them now as a firm Premier League club. For me, I think Europe might be just beyond them this season, given the fact that we've talked about it recently, Pete, haven't we? That when you look at that top 8, top 9, there's some really big clubs in there, and not just big clubs, but clubs who've spent a hell of a lot of money. And they've kind of put themselves in that equation. Now, I think if Bournemouth were to get in the top 10, I think that'd be a fantastic achievement. I really do. And even if they were to finish like 11th or 12th, there's no shame in that. I mean, we were talking about Crystal Palace, weren't we, not so long ago? And I think Palace would snap your hand up if you'd offered them top 10 right now. So that and Palace are a very good side as well. So that kind of tells you the levels in the Premier League this season. I think Iraola, I think he had a really good season last season, and I think it's exciting going into this season with that Dominic Solanke money and seeing what even Nielsen's going to be like. Bournemouth have got some really, really good players, and I think on the day they can perform against anybody. And I must admit, I'm coming into this weekend with a bit of like trepidation, because when we saw the start of the season, when we saw the fixtures come out. And I'm sure Tom will appreciate this. We looked and we were like, we've got some really winnable games coming up. But now, when you look at this game in isolation and you think we've got to go, we've got to go to Bournemouth away, second game of the season. It's not going to be easy. And I think any fans expecting us to just turn up and get 3 points easily and go home, they're going to be sorely mistaken, because I think it's going to be a difficult game this weekend. And that's credit to Bournemouth. That just shows how far Bournemouth have come. I think Bournemouth going to have a good season. For me, I think if they were to break into the top 10, it'd be a really, really good achievement. And I think they're more than capable of it. But I would guess maybe 11th, 12th for Bournemouth this season. That's what I would say, hand on heart.
Do you think you got enough to break the top 10? I know people are talking your team up for European chasing. You kind of like, there's almost sort of like a little bit shaking your head as if you think maybe it's a little bit too early, like Chris said. Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I probably agree, and like Chris said there, I think it's quite easy to look at teams. I mean, Palace are ones that have been spoke about a little bit as well, and you kind of talk about these teams, and go, oh, could they get Europe? And then when you actually go through the teams and you go yourselves, you go the 2 Manchester clubs, you go Chelsea, Villa, and you start listing them all off, you think actually to get above any of them is going to be a blooming tall ask. Yeah. You would need Man United to blow up again, but even more so, and then Chelsea's circus to continue, and then be brilliant yourself. So I think it's very unlikely, but I think we could get 10th. When I look at it, and I think that I'd be hopeful that kind of us, Palace, Fulham, Brighton, them sort of teams, I think will be in that kind of 9th to 12th kind of bracket. If we're in that, if we've got kind of last month of the season and we're between 10th and 13th or something, I'll be well happy. So anywhere around there, 12th last season, so I'll take 11th because that's a bit of progression there.
So we've already talked about Eddie Howe having the hoodoo on top of him and not being able to beat Bournemouth so far. We've done our best to try and break that. We've already got Eddie Howe, we've got Jason Tyndall, we've got Graham Jones, we've got Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, and then we've gone this summer and we've signed another one of yours. We've got Lloyd Kelly coming now. Obviously, when I did the kind of the face-to-face handover with Lloyd Kelly with Sam, obviously talked him up very, very highly. I want to get your opinions on Lloyd Kelly, what he did for Bournemouth, and what can we expect from him? Because I'll be honest with you, the last couple of performances, he came off the bench against Southampton, he played against Stade Brest in the Cellar Cup. He looked a real player.
Yeah, I think what's always been difficult for Lloyd is finding his best position, because I think he's a centre back. We bought him as a centre back, really quick, good on the ball. But because he's left footed, I think he ended up. We had a few injuries. He ended up getting put at left back a bit, and then we realised, he's good at left back. So then I think it was kind of it was detrimental to him, because he was playing left back, then he was playing centre back, then he was playing left back. So when Eddie signed him, I kind of thought it makes sense. He's out of contract, good move for all parties really, in terms of you guys and for Lloyd. But I kind of looked at it and went, with Botman, Shah, obviously still looking for another one. I thought, is he more trying to come in to compete with Burn at left back? Not realising that obviously Lewis Hall had a really good pre-season, was doing well. So now I'm kind of, I'm really not sure where has he played at centre back so far?
Yeah, so the friendly against Stade Brest, he played left centre back. But when he came on against Southampton, he came on for Lewis Hall and he played left back in that situation. So he's had a sample of both. But to be fair, even in the other friendlies that he played, obviously because we didn't have Fabian Schär come back late because of the Euros, he played left centre back then as well. So he's
got good versatility in that sense, and that can really work in your favour. I mean, he's if you want that kind of left back that's going to be a little bit more secure, maybe Lewis Hall will be bombing on a lot more, whereas Lloyd Kelly will give you a bit more defensive stability. But I personally see him, he's still at a good age. I see him being a top centre half. He's been really good for us. He's always had a few injuries. I know you don't want to hear it, but I don't think we've ever had a full season out of him, and that's always been difficult. He had the captaincy in the Championship when we got promoted. He was the skipper. And he was brilliant, really. Him and we had Gary Cahill at the time. And in the Championship, it was a joke, really, having them two at centre half. We stepped up, and he struggled a little bit. There was a few games where he made a few errors, and it seemed like he was him being the captaincy was kind of weighing on him a little bit. We gave it to the goalkeeper, and then his performances then improved. It was like that kind of weight off his shoulders, and he started relaxing and playing really good stuff. I think it was a really, really clever signing. I mean, it's not, someone from abroad for 30 million that, everyone's excited about, because he was a free transfer from Bournemouth. I appreciate it's probably not the most, it's a little bit potentially underwhelming, but I think once the season plays out, I think you'll be really, really impressed with him. And as I say, it's a good age. He's got pretty much every attribute, to be honest. He hasn't got a massive weak part of his game, I don't think.
What's his best attribute, Tom? What's his best attribute? I used
to love the fact he's centre half and he's so quick, just because of his recovery pace. Especially last season with Andoni, and I know Eddie will try and do it as well. Kind of get high up the pitch, high press, try and be aggressive in that sense. And he could often get caught. And the thing is, we'd get they try and get caught with the ball over the top, and not many have beaten Lloyd Kelly in a foot race. So that was felt like a bit of a cheat code at the back. So yeah, his pace definitely helps, because it probably allows him to be a little bit try the odd special pass, and he likes to play, and I think he knows, because if it quite went a bit wrong, he can make up for it with his pace and win the ball back. I think is probably his pace for a centre back. You don't always have centre halves that quick, so I think I think he'll complement, whether it be Botman, whether it be Shah. I think he'd complement him really well.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds positive, Chris. I'm going to jump the gun a little bit now when we when we obviously talk tactics and we go through the first 11s. But I'm just going to ask you outright, you know, from what you saw at the weekend, do you think with Fabian Schär missing, do you think he's going to start with Lloyd Kelly?
No.
Okay.
It all will be revealed when we get the tactics board out. But no, I don't think Lloyd Kelly will start.
But
I
should
think
he?
he'll see some minutes. I think he'll come on. But I don't think he'll start. Yeah, should he? The only issue for me is if you start him, you're then potentially going to have two left-footed centre-backs playing. And that for me is a bit of an issue, because I think if he was to start, it would shift Dan Burn to right centre-back. And to be honest, I'd have more concerns over Dan Burn playing right centre-back as a left-footer. I just think it would imbalance the team a little bit. But no, I don't think he will start. I think he will come off the bench. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was to come off the bench maybe for Lewis Hall or even possibly Dan Burn. You know, if we want to try and protect him to make sure we know that we're missing Fabian Schär for the next 3 games. So maybe it might be protecting Dan Burn if the game is going the way that we want it to go. But I do expect him to come on the pitch. I do think he'll get some minutes.
Yeah, definitely. It's for me. Look, I may wait and give my opinion when we get the tactics board out in just a second. Get your questions in for Tom. I think there's a couple of questions in there that maybe we can come to in just a second for yourself, Tom. But I have just noticed 1 or 2 in the chat having, you know, sort of a back and forths about the transfer window, about the Mark Gay situation. This is a match preview, people. However, look, just to set everyone straight, everybody is entitled to an opinion. That this is what we do on this channel. I can understand the frustrations. We will sign a right centre back, and I believe we will sign a right winger as well. We just have to be patient for just a little bit longer. We've been incredibly patient this summer. We will get those players in, don't worry. But look, we appreciate all your comments and thoughts in the chat. We just don't want people going at each other because different opinions happen. Hey, me, Daz, and Chris, we don't always agree on our opinion. We have different opinions, and this is the beauty of what we do on this channel, and having you a part of it is really important to that. But a few questions, Chris. I know there's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 popping into the chat. What have we got? What have we got for Tom?
Well, I'm gonna start with a question that's literally just come in from Julie Husbands. A big shout out to you, Julie, because poor Julie, she always sends me messages offline, you know, on DM on X, and I always go, "Yeah, I'll come to that, Julie. I'll come to that, Julie." And then obviously during the show, I'm normally rushing home from work, or I get distracted and stuff. So I'm really pleased that Julie's asked such a good question for Tom. So I'm going to start with Julie, and Julie says, "Tom, do you think Eddie Howe will leave Newcastle for England?"
Oh.
Sorry, that went a bit crackly. Can you say that again, please?
Oh, sorry, mate. Do you think Eddie's going to leave Newcastle for England? If not immediately, do you think it's inevitable it will happen?
I think in the future he might end up being the England manager. I don't see it anytime soon whatsoever. Knowing Eddie just from being at the football club for so many years, he is literally, his coaching is everything to him. He loves being on the training pitch every day. He's a first in, last out. He's always been like that. I think he would lose all enjoyment. I think he'd hate it. I've always said I kind of appreciate why Eddie's getting linked, and that shows the job he's done in his kind of relatively short career. But I just feel like if you spoke to him, he'd go, "There's no way I'd be able to see these players every few months." And he's all about, you saw it when he first came in, it's all about bringing a team spirit, getting the groups together. I think the only criticism he gets sometimes is that he likes his favourites. And I always think that's the case because he gets this team spirit and he puts so much faith and trust in these players that he takes a while. I mean, you've seen Lewis Hall, for example. He takes so long to implement people into the... I mean, he used to get all the criticism. I remember when I first spoke to Newcastle fans, maybe even yourselves, when you got Eddie Howe and you were kind of asking me about him. I said, yeah, but what about in the transfer window? Because, I mean, he got Solanke for 20 million. I mean, that was a flop. And we've just sold Solanke for 65 million. It takes a bit of time. And he's always been like that. And I just think he loves developing players. He loves keeping a group and team spirit. And I cannot see how he'd want to get into international football at his age. I think it's something he'll do when he's a lot older.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And Pete and I have said similar, and as you know, we've said that Eddie loves the day to day. So that is the one element where we'd think that it's unlikely that he'd take it. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But no, I totally agree with what you're saying, Tom. Now, Tom, I know you've recently signed Even Nilsson, I think his name is. I'll have to sort my pronunciation out there. But a couple of people in the chat want to know about other strikers. And David Tofield asks you, would you want Callum Wilson back? And Shane AFC, a fellow Bournemouth fan, says, Tom, are you glad that you didn't get Nketiah? So would you take Callum Wilson back? And are you glad that you didn't get Eddie Nketiah, Tom?
In terms of Eddie Nketiah, I think it sounds really, really harsh to say I'm glad we didn't get someone, because I think Eddie Nketiah gets a little bit of bad press. I think he's a good player. Unfortunately, he's at a massive, massive football club. Is he Arsenal level? No, in my opinion. But he's a good player. I think he would have actually done all right for us in, kind of high press energy. But when you look at, I think they wanted 30-40 million for him, and I think he's on over 100 grand a week. I wasn't sold on it. I do believe he was in the list, and Even Nilsson was kind of, if that had not gone well, we would have gone straight in for Nketiah, I've heard. But yeah, I think he'd be a good player in the Premier League, but I think the pedigree of Even Nilsson I'm a bit more excited about for sure. In terms of Callum, sentimentally, I'd want him back. As a footballer, I still would want him back. His injuries, I wouldn't want him back. As sad as it is to say, he's too injury prone for me. There's no way, sounds horrible, but if it was a Solanke replacement, you can't rely on Callum Wilson because of his injuries. It's a real shame for him. Yeah. But if you guarantee he plays every game like Dom did last season, I've no doubt he'll bang in the goals and be brilliant. But I wouldn't back him being fit for me to do well out of half a season. You're very fortunate, obviously, with Isak, because Callum is your perfect second striker, I think, because you can't rely on him every week, unfortunately. But for sentimental reasons, it was the same as Matt Ritchie. I'd have taken him back, but that's all sentimental, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, mate.
Do you think Callum will stay, by the way?
Wilson?
Yeah, me personally, I think he will. I think the signing of Will Asula basically cements Callum Wilson as number 2. If we hadn't signed Will Asula, I would then have probably sided with the fact that we get rid and bring in a new second choice striker. I genuinely think a player like Will Asula, obviously we don't know much about him. We've only seen him very limited so far, Tom, but a striker like Will Asula, who's young, won't expect minutes, is there to learn basically from Wilson and Isak. I think he's the perfect signing, given that if Callum Wilson is out, we now have a third choice option, whereas last season we didn't. And when we were without Isak and Wilson, it was like, right, we're putting Anthony Gordon up front, or we're putting Harvey Barnes up front, and you can't really go through a sustained period with a winger as a number 9. It just doesn't work. So I think Callum Wilson will stay at least for the remainder of this season, unless, of course, someone comes in with a decent offer. But what about you, Pete?
Yeah, Callum Wilson staying. Callum Wilson had the opportunity to leave earlier on in the summer from all accounts and reports. Saudi was rumoured to be the option, but it almost seems like he doesn't want to leave. I think he wants to stay. I think the injury has maybe helped that situation, because he's still not fit for it seems like he's never played against Bournemouth either. Like, Howe's never beat you. Wilson's never played against you, and he's not available again this weekend. But he'll be available for I think possibly the cup game, or maybe even Tottenham the week after. So yeah, I think he'll stay. I think he'll see out his last year, and I think he'll go on a free transfer, because I think he wants to stay in England and play. I think he was given there's rumours that he wanted to go to Atletico Madrid when there was rumours of an interest there in January. And I think had we had not been in the injury crisis that we had at the time, I do think that Eddie Howe probably would have considered letting him go. But interestingly enough, it was not long after that he picked up the pectoral injury that I had him out for like nearly 12 weeks. So it's just typical. It was typical Newcastle last season. We couldn't get anything right in that situation. But he'll stay at the club and see his last year out. Weirdly, and I've not said this before, but I'll say it now, I tip him to have a really good season.
Okay. Interesting.
I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right. If he gets in double figures, that'd be fantastic. It really would. And the more available that Callum Wilson is, and the more that we can rotate and rest Alexander Isak for certain games, I think it's only going to help us in the long term. Because Callum Wilson, fit up front playing, he scores goals. That's what he does, and it's great when he's on the pitch. It's just a shame that he spends the majority of his time off the pitch, and that's a frustration. Because when he's fit and raring to go, he's a bloody good striker. He really is. I've got two more questions for Tom. The first one, Tom, again from David Tofield. He says, is there anyone else that you still want to sign this window, or is there any positions that you're particularly looking at that you think you'll bring in before the window shuts?
Yeah, we need a goalkeeper. We're looking at goalkeepers. I mean, today Sky Sports said that we're in talks with Chelsea for Kepa. Apparently,
I've seen that. Yeah,
on loan. It makes more sense when you realise when he was a youngster at Atletico Bilbao, Antonio Areola was there. So I think they've crossed paths. So that's probably why that link's there, and probably why we've gone for him. I think we were obviously been linked with Aaron Ramsdale as well, because obviously he's been here before. Unfortunately, I think Arsenal want a little bit too much of a loan fee and wages and stuff. So yeah, it looks like Kepa at the moment. But yeah, goalkeeper, and then I'll be happy. There might be little bits, but I think it would just be kind of squad cover, maybe in other areas, depending on if any more fringe players left. But I think most Bournemouth fans say just get a goalkeeper and we'll be happy now.
I had one little question actually to ask you, Tom. It's only just popped into my head now. Is Roman Favre staying with you this season?
No, he's just gone out on loan to Brest in France.
Right. So okay, yeah, because he was another player we were linked with, and he looked like the new Hatem Ben Arfa. I was particularly excited when you signed him. Now he went on loan straight away, didn't he? Was it Lorient?
Yeah, he went straight there. Done pretty well. I think we recalled him in the January. He had a few injuries.
Right. Yeah,
he's a weird one because we haven't seen loads of him. But in pre-season, he looked bloody skillful. He's really got a few tricks in that. He just looks like he's getting a few knocks now and again, and I'm not sure if he's got the physicality yet. And maybe they just want to send him out on loan and play football because I don't think Andoni thought he was quite ready to get enough minutes here yet. But exciting one for the future potentially.
Yeah. Just one more I've just seen pop up on the screen here from Those Aren't Pillows. Tom, would you take Dubravka?
Yeah, I would actually. I think I absolutely would. Yeah, I think Dubravka's a decent keeper. Obviously, you've seen him more than me, but yeah, I think we're struggling in goal, and I think most clubs, kind of the big boys, yourselves included, kind of backup goalkeepers would be our number one. So yeah, I think Dubravka I would take. Do I think he's as good as Kepa? I'm not sure. Maybe I'd prefer Kepa, but then if Kepa went pear-shaped, we weren't getting him, and you said you can have Dubravka, I'd go, yeah, I'll have him.
You know what to do, Shola. You know what to do.
Yeah. Get on the phone. Eddie Howe's almost kind of confirmed because a friend of the channel, Jordan Cronin, asked him the question today about the fact that we've got 5 goalkeepers. Is there likely one to be leaving? And he said something like, "We'll have to see," but it was very much to the point where everyone sort of got the message that a goalkeeper is going to leave at some point. So it could well be Dubravka. Vlachodimos, who's only just signed for us from Nottingham Forest, is reported to be going out as well.
That's weird.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what that signing's all about. A wild signing, but let's see. Let's see with that one. Could well still happen. But look, we're gonna segue to the tactics board because Tom, I want you to pick out your 11. Now I've got the squad across the bottom here for your team. Talk us through what you think the first 11 is, formations. Talk us through it, mate. What are Bournemouth going to go for on Sunday?
Sunday, yeah. It'll be like a 4-2-3-1, pretty much. It'll be Neto in goal at the moment. He's still any young goalkeepers other than him, so he'll be in goal. I think Adam Smith will stay in at right back. we've signed a Mexican lad called Araujo who come off the bench and looked brilliant actually. But I think he'll stick with Smithy for his experience, particularly if it's against someone like Anthony Gordon or Harvey Barnes. I think Zabani will definitely play at centre back, and he'll probably be next to Houghton, who had a brilliant debut. So I think he'll play over Senesi, but Senesi is back fit now. But yeah,
well,
I think
Zabani left centre back and
Zabani right centre back.
Okay.
And Houghton's left centre back, and then Milos Kerkez will be the left back for sure.
Yes.
Probably the only natural left back we have now, actually.
Yeah, we still rated him highly. Another player we were linked with, like, he's come with quite a lot of potential there.
Yeah, it's a bit his last season, I'm sure of it. He's brilliant, and he's a kid. I mean, he's gonna go on to big things. I think we've done well to keep him for another season, to be honest. I think a lot of that was because we lost Lloyd as well. So we needed to keep Milos. I think the two in front, the midfield two, will be Lewis Cook, definitely. And I actually think he'll probably be next to Alex Scott. I think Ryan Christie's had a bit of an issue. So I think it'll be them two again, who partnered with each other against Forest. Justin Clive will play in that kind of number 10 role, I'm sure. Now he's back fit. He's brilliant in that role. He come off the bench against Forest when we were 1-0 down, and he changed the game. He was superb. So yeah, better than his dad. Get him in there. On the wings, it's quite tough actually. I'm gonna go Semenyo on the right.
Good player.
He's brilliant. Absolutely
brilliant. I think he scored against us at St James's last season, didn't he?
Yeah, very good guy actually. Yeah, it was.
He did.
I think it's gonna be. I'm gonna go Marcus Tavernier on the left. So there's a few options there. It could be Sinistera, but I think he's gonna go for Marcus Tavernier on that left-hand side. And then up top, we will go for Brazil, Evan Nelson. Like I say, last week we didn't have a striker, and we had to play Semenyo up front. So we literally, because our other striker Unau is injured. So yeah, it's literally play with kind of one of your wide men up front, or just chuck Evan Nelson in. So I think he'll just chuck him in.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. Very good team. Good. Some top players there, Chris. That we're going to have to come back against. So I'm going to come to you. I'm going to click on our squad. What we're going for, mate? What do you think the team is going to be on Sunday?
Okay, so I think in goal will be Nick Pope.
Okay.
I think left back will be Lewis Hall.
There he is.
Right back will be Tino Livramento.
No Trippier.
No, I still think he's going to stick with Tino, particularly after. I mean, I've not watched the press conference yet, but you know, Eddie Howe said he couldn't make any guarantees that Kieran Trippier was going to stay, and I thought that was quite telling. So it wouldn't surprise me if Kieran Trippier was on the bench again this weekend. So left centre back is going to be Dan Burn.
Yeah.
And I think right centre back is going to be Emil Kraft.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I think every Bournemouth fan would, and this is where the concern is. And you know, I was asked the question earlier on a different channel. I was asked, about the centre back situation, and I, to be honest, Chris, I read out the back four exactly sort of like this, and they did exactly what Tom has just done and gone
and went, "Ooh, that's nice."
And they're not even Bournemouth fans, but they will look like, he really going to go to the vitality with that? And for me, it is a big concern. Now, we'll come back to that conversation in a second, but just run through what you think the rest of the team will look like, mate.
Yeah, mate. So holding mid will be our captain, Bruno.
Yes. Bruno Guimaraes.
Left centre mid will be Joe Linton, who was absolutely fantastic last week. So hopefully he does the same again. And then right centre back, I think, will be Sean Longstaff.
Okay.
Right centre mid, sorry.
Yeah.
On the left, hopefully it'll be Anthony Gordon. I'm hoping. Right wing, I believe it'll be Jacob Murphy again.
Okay.
And obviously through the middle, the main man, Alexander Isak. I think that's how we line up.
Okay.
on our channel, I tried my best to predict the Newcastle side, and the only difference I did was Kraft for Kelly. I did do the same, but I appreciate what Chris is saying about that. Kelly's better than Kraft, but two left-sided centre backs. Is it better to go Kraft and have a better balance? And I think that's probably the decision Eddie's gonna have to make. Go with whether he goes with more of a balanced centre half pairing, or he just tells Burn or Kelly to deal with it and play right side. And be interesting to see what he does actually.
The only other thing, Pete, I suppose, and I know Pete, you this is normally where you critique my lineup. I suppose the only other thing which could pose the question is: do you think Eddie would switch to 5 at the back? Do you think there's a possibility that he'll go with the wing backs and then play obviously Lloyd Kelly left centre back, Dan Burn centre back, and then Kraft right centre back? Or do you think that's maybe too defensive? I'm just thinking with it being away from home, are they going to try and shore things up at the back if he's a bit concerned about Even Nielsen?
I think that's maybe something they might consider in game. I don't know if he'd start with that in particular, but I mean, for me, there'd be only 2 changes. Not that I think would start. Well, why does it do that? With my laptop, it's not even my birthday, but I would make 2 changes to this lineup, not because I think it will happen, but because I think that's what I would do. And one of them would be bringing Kelly in for Kraft. I would do that.
Would you play Kelly on the right, Pete, or would you play Burn on the right?
That is the big question here. Why have I not got Lloyd Kelly here? I'll organise a Lloyd Kelly. I'll rewrite a Lloyd Kelly and I'll put him in onto this squad because I've missed him along the way.
He's number 25, isn't he? Is number 25 not there? I'm pretty sure.
No. I've not put him in. I've not added him in. I'd added the I'd added some others, but not him in. But I would go Lloyd Kelly, and I think if Lloyd Kelly starts, I think Lloyd Kelly starts here. And the reason being is because I don't think they will ask Burn to play anywhere out of position where he's too uncomfortable. I think Kelly would be able to manage the situation better. He's probably got a better right foot than Dan Burn. So in terms of playing off his right foot would probably seem a lot more comfortable. The reason why I'm saying that is because, and I've only got a little sample size of watching that 90 minutes against Stade Brest, but he was very, very comfortable using his right foot, spraying it across pitch on the right-hand side, as well as he was pumping balls forward. He was the one that created the goal for Harvey Barnes against Stade Brest, playing a lovely long ball in which Harvey Barnes then ended up finding a way to finish it off. So I would think he would come into this position here. That's what I think. And that's what I would want to happen because, 6'3", big strapping centre back, like you said, Tom, you talked about it. He's got back to pace. He can pass. He's played on that ground before, and I think it would be something that he would relish going back to his old club and feel comfortable and confident in playing there. And of course, we need the solidity. We haven't got the centre back in that we wanted this week. I think we need the solidity there, and I think Kraft being a good stopgap in certain situations, I'm just not comfortable with him starting. Doesn't mean that I'd dislike the player. I just want a little bit more solidity, and I think Lloyd Kelly would give us that in that position. The other position that I would change.
Sorry, just before you move on, do you think the fact that we're playing Bournemouth, do you think that makes it more tempting for Eddie to play Kelly? Like, for example, if this was Palace away, Everton away, whoever, do you think he would maybe have more question marks around Kelly? Do you think the fact that he is playing Bournemouth makes it more tempting for Eddie to play Kelly?
Definitely. I think so. And I'm being honest with you, if we'd have had a centre-back, if Shaw had been available, not suspended, or we'd had a centre-back signed for this weekend and available to play, I would have played Kelly ahead of Lewis Hall. That, in my opinion, I would have played him there at left back. Because I genuinely think in the future, when we have Sven Botman back from his ACL, when we have a new centre back in, and we've then got Shaw back from his suspension, I do think he will shift across, and I do think he will play well enough to command a starting position in that left back situation. I do think long term that's where he's been signed for. It's not a bad option to have Lewis Hall and Lloyd Kelly fighting for that left back berth. Like I think that's real good strength and depth there. But yeah, in short, I would have. I would have played him. I would play him, and I do hope he does play in this game, because I think it'd be a really good game for him to come into. Just before I come back to Tom with regards to Bournemouth, my only other change in this starting lineup, not that I'm saying it's going to happen, but what I would want to happen is this.
Ooh.
So I would want Harvey Barnes here. I would want Gordon there. There's no surprise that Harvey Barnes has come out this week, and Craig Hope did the piece and said that he was unhappy with not starting last weekend. Yes, he's missed chances. He's had opportunities and it's not gone his way, but he's played the whole of pre-season. He's scored goals in pre-season. I think he needs to be given an opportunity to prove his worth. Eddie Howe should be using this opportunity, in my opinion, on Sunday to go, okay, Harvey Barnes, you want to start? You want to be the main guy in this team? You want to be a regular? Go prove it. Go prove it away at Bournemouth. Go put the goals in that's going to win us the game. This is his opportunity.
Yeah.
For me, look, Murphy only had 20 minutes to prove himself before he was subbed for the red card. But even in that 20 minutes, he didn't play well. So for me, that gives Harvey Barnes an opportunity to go prove himself. And for me, that's how I would start. At this moment in time, that is our strongest front three. Because you've got goals, you've got quality, you've got ability, all in that front three. I would go with that. And then you're adding Joe Linton and Bruno to that. You've got a team there, an attacking team that can put the ball in the net. So for me, that would be the change. You got, Lloyd Kelly here and Harvey Barnes there, putting Gordon on the right. Gordon can attack, be direct, whip balls into Isak, which we've lacked, and we go on from there. That's kind of what I would do. Whether it happens or not is a different thing. But
we'll see.
Tom, from a Bournemouth point of view, because we're going to move on quickly, because I know time is short with yourself. Anything from Bournemouth? What is your style? What is your style of play? Where do you tend to get most joy against opposition? Is there a particular style and way of playing that we need to look out for, whether it's set pieces, whether it's down a particular side of the pitch? What is it that makes you guys tick?
I think it's the pace of our play in general. Probably not too dissimilar to yourselves in terms of that high press, very aggressive, very front foot. Obviously, I'd be talking a lot about Dom Solanke previously. Obviously, I'm not now, so we're a little bit unknown because we don't know how Evan Nilsson's going to be out there. But him and Kluivert will be a menace. He'll be pressing the hell out of Bruno all game. I think Bruno's got enough quality to deal with it. I wouldn't be too concerned, but Kluivert will be there, and he'll be trying to hassle the centre halves as well. And then we'll quite quickly from the centre backs try and play them kind of diagonal balls to the wingers, because we've got a lot of pace out there. Normally aiming for Semenyo. So I've obviously started him on the right and Tav on the left, but they could quite easily change after 20 minutes. He does that quite a lot. And I think Semenyo's always a great outlet because of his pace. And that was a little bit of thinking behind, if he played Kraft, he might play Kelly at left back if he's worried about Semenyo's pace, potentially. But yeah, Semenyo's definitely a player that we try and get involved in the game as much as we can, really. And yeah, we play a very high line, very, very high line. And that would be my concern is Isak and Gordon in transitions. If you nick the ball back and you try and you'll have kind of Gordon and Isak, 2-on-2 or whatever. That could be where we come undone a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to add Lloyd Kelly, and I think he wears 25, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's 25.
I'm going to add him as a centre back for now. So he's in there. Let's add him in. So here he is. So Lloyd Kelly coming in not for Dan Burn, but for Kraft. So you're effectively thinking on what you were saying, Tom, that he might play him here to stop those particular runs. So if he gets the beating of Hall, which Hall isn't the greatest defensively, I think
that's what I mean. And
So if
And
he's
the
making
fact that-
those runs in here, he can cover in these positions here.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that the fact that Kelly is obviously very comfortable at left back, I think he just naturally will cover that left side really well. And it will still allow Hall to do what he's good at and kind of get involved offensively, because I think he'll trust that Lloyd can sweep round. So it might be something he thinks about. But equally, as I say, because if he did that, we could quite easily just go, all right, then we'll chuck Semenyo to the left. So it would be like a bit of chess, I think. But similarly on your wings, to be honest, what will be interesting is, so our right back Adam Smith is very much we'll sit a little bit deeper, we'll tuck in and make it a free at times. Whereas Milos Kerkez will play like a wing back; he'll just bomb on all day. So he's a real weapon going forward, but he'll get caught. So it's whether you think someone like Andy Gordon is better playing against a fullback who will keep going forward and give him space on the break, or if you think he'd be better against someone that will be more defensively minded like Adam Smith. I'm not sure. And that'll be something Eddie thinks about as well, is I think which side he plays Gordon, because I'd be concerned if Gordon was on that right side, I'd be concerned that Kerkez would get caught a little bit.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so definitely something to think about. Just something that's come into the chat that I've just seen a second ago. I think you've got him in the squad because I think I kept him in. I wasn't sure if he's still there. Philip Billing. What is he still at Bournemouth?
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to him, to be honest. Hasn't really worked with him since Andoni's come in. It's one of them weird situations where he's clearly a good footballer, just doesn't seem to work in the way Andoni wants to play at all. Because he likes that, as I mentioned, that real high energy, high press. Billing's quite lethargic, quite relaxed in his approach. He's one of them players that you often could say he looks lazy, even though the numbers would suggest he isn't. But from a press kind of side of it, Justin Kluivert is so good at that. Semenyo's so good at that. Solanke was obviously brilliant at that. And Billing's just not that sort of player. So he really has become a backup player under Andoni. He come on with about 5 minutes to go, I think, on the weekend. So he's still available. But I think if a club came in, we would probably let him go now. I just don't think anyone's come in. I don't think he's particularly happy, because he's good enough to be playing football in the Premier League. It's just one of the things. It just doesn't quite fit the system at the moment. But if you have to chuck him on, he can still do bits, because he's a good player.
Yeah, interesting. We were linked with him a while back. It might have even been in January, actually. I think we were linked with taking him. But the fact that you've said he's not really a presser, that's not what our midfield's made of. Our midfield is made for pressing. So you saying that makes me think that he wouldn't even be the type of signing that we'd want.
No, I think I personally have always thought that's lazy journalism, because Eddie Howe brought him in to Bournemouth. Because Eddie Howe brought him in, and we got relegated, and he left. You know, the only season he got relegated was it wasn't like Billing was an unbelievable success for Eddie. He wasn't awful, but he wasn't great for Eddie. So I'd be very surprised if that was the case. I think he could end up going abroad near the end of the window potentially, I think.
Okay. Definitely one to watch out for. Watching the pressing of Kluivert, of course, watching the pressing of Joe Linton. If it is Barnes and Gordon, that's what I think we might want, not necessarily what we think is going to happen. Chris has mentioned Murphy and Gordon, which I think it will be the case. Watch that relationship, whether it's Gordon or Barnes up against Adam Smith if he starts. Kerkez, you've mentioned, Tom, with regards to being caught in and behind. Whoever starts here, if it's Murphy or Gordon, areas to look out for. If it is Lloyd Kelly or if it's Dan Burn, Semenyo, watching his runs in and behind here. I'm really, really interested, Chris, from a Newcastle perspective, if Lewis Hall starts, how he gets on defensively this weekend. Obviously, there's question marks against Southampton, how well he does here. We know what he can do getting forward in the overlaps, getting balls in, but it's what he can do defensively here, which could be key. So there's a few things to keep an eye on over the course of this game at the weekend. I'm excited about this game. I think for me, boys, from a Newcastle perspective, Chris, tell me if I'm wrong, I actually think this is a massive game. Yeah. This is a massive game for so many reasons. There's an expectancy that we pick points up on and put them on the board early on with the teams that we're playing against. There is an expectancy from the media and people out there that we can have a good start. But that hoodoo that I keep talking about on top of our heads with Bournemouth and Eddie Howe, we need to break that hoodoo at some point. So that makes it a big game, because although people expect us to win, we haven't yet under Eddie Howe, and we need to break that.
Yeah, no, we do. We absolutely do. And I think, like you say, last week was key for me, because last season, or even season before, we wouldn't have won that game. And the fact that we grounded out, we got the 3 points, which is very unlike us in those kind of situations, that felt like a big step forward for me. And do you know what? Without giving anything away too much, like, for me, like, the job in hand for me this weekend is not to get beat. Just don't get beat. You know, if we come away from the Vitality with a point, I think it would actually be a fairly decent point, because I think a lot of teams going there this season could well underestimate Bournemouth, and it'll be at their pedal, because I think they're a bit of an unknown quantity. Semenyo, we've already talked about, he was dangerous. Funnily enough, when Tom mentioned that Semenyo goal that he scored against us last season, if you remember, Pete, that was when me and you were going absolutely mad, because that was the one where he hit it from distance. Good strike, but Dubravka should have done far better with it. And we were really annoyed by that. It was, as I say, it was a very good strike. I don't want to take anything away from Semenyo, but Dubravka should have got his hands to that. So the fact that Nick Pope's in goal, there's a plus. But when Tom was talking about tactics just then, it's going to be a huge game for Joe Linton. This game, absolutely huge, off the back of a really fantastic performance last week. But we saw Bruno's recoveries weren't there. He wasn't recovering the ball, but very well making those recovery runs that we know he can do. But, you know, clearly he's not at 100%. And as we know, he's not the quickest as it is. Got the footballing brain, as Tom said, but he's when he's not at 100%, if he gets turns, or if, you know, someone catches him with a yard ahead, it's game over. He's not catching them. And Joe Linton's going to be key to that. He's going to have to protect Bruno, as is Sean Longstaff, but more so Joe Linton, I would say. And also Joe Linton's going to have to be helping Lewis Hall at the back as well, because Lewis Hall was far from convincing defensively. So whether it's Lloyd Kelly, Lewis Hall, whoever's left centre-back, left back, Joe Linton's going to have to be up and down, and particularly if he goes with Harvey Barnes in left wing, we're going to need to see Joe Linton up there supporting him and giving him an outlet. We know that Harvey Barnes doesn't like taking players on one-on-one. He likes his little 1-2s, his intricate passes, and he needs Joe Linton there in order to offer that. I tell you what could be a shout, Pete, and we didn't mention him. I think Joe Willock will get minutes at the weekend. I think this could be a perfect game for Joe Willock, particularly on the 60-65 minute mark. Get his legs on there, stretch Bournemouth, you know, cause them problems at the other end of the pitch. So it could be a good game for Joe Willock this weekend.
Didn't play last weekend, so he needs minutes. That is for sure. It's going to be an interesting one. But you talked about Dubravka in such a negative light. We're trying to sell him. We should be bigging him up. So Bournemouth take him off around.
Oh, he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
There we go. But look, lots of things to look out for in that game, and it's going to be a really, really good watch. That is for sure. Look, we'll take some predictions now before we wrap up the show. And we'll work our way around, and we'll end with yourself, Tom. So for me, I'm just praying that we break the hoodoo. So I'm gonna say Newcastle United 2-1 win. I need that hoodoo done. We need to be able to go, and Eddie Howe, I think, will be relieved if he can go and get the win. We're desperate for it, and we need to prove our away form. That is for sure, because that's going to be a key to us being where we want to be by the end of this season. So 2-1 from me. Chris, what are you going for?
I'm going to go with 1-1.
Okay.
If we ended up getting a point at the Vitality, I'd be happy with it. We're capable of winning, but we're also capable of losing. So I'm gonna do a Keith. I'm gonna say 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1 on the fence. Keith's working. Or is he? Hold on 1 second. He was working, so he wasn't able to come on. But however, he has given his prediction. So he
Pete,
said,
"Can I do it?
Go for it."
It's only right for Keith.
Keith and his fence, eh? He has apologised. He's not been able to make it. Work's been getting in the way recently, but he hopes he'll be back in the next couple of weeks. He says he thinks this weekend's score will be Bournemouth 1, Newcastle United 1. So he's gone for the same scoreline.
There he is.
Both of them are on the fence. Tom, to finish it off, what is your prediction for this game? Are you going to be on the fence like Keith and Chris, or are you going to go Bournemouth win, or are you going to go Newcastle United win? Where are you sitting yourself, fella?
I'm in a tough position here because I've been on it a few times. And every time I've come on, I've said, I think you'll have too much for us. And then we've never lost. So I kind of feel like I need to do that again.
No, go something
because it's worked. But I'm probably... I think I would definitely take a point. I think at the moment we got a decent point on the first day without having a striker. I think it's going to take a bit of time for the new lad up front. So I think if we can start the season with a couple of points before kind of getting even Elton up to speed, etc., after the loss of Dom Solanke, I'll be well happy. I think, if we can play against a team like yourselves and compete and get a point, I'll be well happy. I think we've got enough to get a point. When I saw the Fabian Schär red card at the time, I wasn't happy because I wanted you to beat the Scummers and you did, so thank you. But I'm pleased now because I just think, like we've spoken about enough, it's either craft or the balance is disrupted, and we've got to take advantage of that for sure. I worry about a few. I think a key thing will be if our press can cause Bruno problems, or if Bruno's so football intelligent that
I think you can't unmute.
Will go. I don't want to go the same as you two, so I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Oh, Desmond.
Desmond.
2-2.
Desmond.
He is.
Yeah.
Surely be an entertaining game with Desmond, but he's gone for a draw as well. I'm the only one that's gone for a win. Maybe I'm doing something wrong here, but no, it's going to be a real close game. Just one last thing to add: Newcastle United in the last year have had issues with a tighter pitch, a smaller pitch. We find it really difficult to play on those type of pitches, whether it's Bournemouth or other places in the Premier League. And so that, again, will be something to keep an eye on over the course of that game. Can we play on those tighter pitches and go and get the result? Lots to think about, lots to take in, lots to remember from this show tonight. But what I have to say, because Tom, I know you need to go in just a second, and massive thanks to you coming and joining us. Just let everyone know that's watching the show where they can find you in your channel, mate.
Yeah, it's AFCB podcast, Back of the Net on YouTube and all that stuff, and on X, Twitter, whatever they call it these days. So yeah, I really appreciate it, mate. As soon as Sam said you got in contact, I said, yeah, that's the one I like. I don't do loads of preview shows and stuff. I'm like, ugh. But I went, no, I like the Newcastle lads. I want to go on that one. So, no, I really appreciate it, boys. Cheers. And all the best Sunday and for the rest of the season. And just stick with Eddie. You'll be absolutely fine, you lot.
Definitely. Look, Tom, you're always welcome. Yourself and Sam, you're an absolute pleasure to have on the channel. And look, we'll be in touch for later on in the season. But I'll let you go because I know you've got somewhere else to be.
Cheers,
take care. Best of luck for the rest of the season, as you've said for us. And look, we'll speak to you soon, mate. Top man.
Cheers, boys. Have a good one.
Take care, mate. See you later.
Great to have Tom on. Took the time tonight to come and join us really quickly. He's got somewhere else he needs to be, but as he's just said, Chris, always takes time to come on Loaded Mag NUFC. So great to have him with us.
No, absolutely. He's a top lad, and he knows his football. Really knows his football, and he always speaks very respectfully about Newcastle, and I love that. So, yeah, full credit to Tom. And do you know what? We wish him all the best after Sunday.
Yeah. Definitely. Bournemouth are just a team that I don't dislike. Like, they're just a team that I like and respect. I don't know whether it's because of Eddie Howe or whether it's because some of the previous players that have come to us, but then it's not just that, just the fans as well. Very, very respectful, not just Tom and Sam and the team at Back of the Net, but it's all Bournemouth fans that I've interacted with. Really, really good people. So massive respect to them, and after this Sunday, best of luck for the season. But yeah, we need to make sure we secure the points. Interesting conversation around the starting lineup, mate, before we wrap up. Be interesting to see what Newcastle come about. We've got the centre-back situation that's not quite set, the front three situation that's not quite set. there's finally some decisions to be made in the team.
Do you know what? It's nice to have options, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's nice to have options. And I'll be honest, Pete. When you mentioned about putting Barnes on the left and Gordon on the right, I hadn't even thought about that. And
would you go for that if you had the option, mate? And people in the chat, would you go for the option if you had the option of going Barnes, Isak, Gordon as your front three on Sunday? Would you have that as your priority starting front three?
See, I'm doing a Keith again. I'm on both sides. Like, for me, Gordon's best position is off the left. But I agree with what you're saying in that our strongest front three is Barnes, Isak, and Gordon. So it's kind of a bit of both. And I know Jacob Murphy had a poor 20 minutes when he was on the pitch, but Jacob Murphy, when he turns up, he can cause damage. We know that he likes to whip them balls in for Alexander Isak, and that's something that we lack when Miggy's playing. So I do like Jacob Murphy on the right wing. Do you know what? It's the best of both worlds for me. Like, I'd be excited if I saw Barnes, Isak, and Gordon, but at the same time, I wouldn't be worried if I saw Gordon, Isak, and Murphy. So either or for me. It could be that we end up moving on to that, Pete, after maybe 55, 60 minutes. Eddie goes, you know what, let's change it up. And we see Harvey Barnes come on, and then Gordon pushes out to that right-hand side. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, even if he sticks with the initial three that he did against Southampton. It wouldn't surprise me if he switched that up. Because I think Tom made some really good points, about Kirkes bombing forward. And I think if you've got Anthony Gordon there, who's probably our biggest threat on the wing, let's be honest, within our squad, if you've got Anthony Gordon there, it poses the question to Iraola, is he then going, am I telling Kirkes to stay back a little bit? Now, if Kirkes does stay back and he doesn't keep getting forward as much as they want to, we're technically defending by attacking in doing that. And I think quickly you would see Kirkes not bomb forward as much, because you can't leave Anthony Gordon on his own, because if you do, you're asking for trouble, particularly with a high line.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, David H has said about Barnes playing on the right. That's not what we said. We said, or that's not what I suggested. I suggested him playing on his left, his favourite position, Isak in the middle, and Gordon on the right. But to be fair, David H, he's right. With the preseason that Murphy's had, he's probably going to start for that reason, not only for balance, but the fact that he's had a decent preseason, albeit he didn't play well for the 20 minutes that he was on against Southampton. But it's the point is that there's choices there to be made. The performance wasn't great, albeit it was because of the red card, but we still weren't great even up and before that. Does Eddie Howe be bold and make changes for this game and go right to one or two players, go prove yourself? Does he say to Lloyd Kelly, go prove yourself, go show me what you're all about against your old club on their 125th anniversary on a stadium in a pitch that he knows really well? And does he go to Harvey Barnes? You want to play? You're not happy about not playing against Southampton? Go prove to me that you deserve to play. Go put the ball in the net and go win us the game. That's the point. The likelihood is it probably won't happen, knowing Eddie Howe, but it's a question that still should be out. But Craig Lee, I think, has just put a comment in there. He's put, with Shaw out and there's not being 100% yet, I'd be playing the low block and hit Bournemouth on the break. Howe should have done that more last year. Well, it's a tighter pitch, is what I'll say. Is that the pitch is a lot smaller compared to St James's Park, and you could probably get away with playing a low block, but you don't want to invite too much pressure with Bournemouth being the home team. That would be my only thing. But yeah, I think all suggestions are fair. I think it's all up in the air at the moment in terms of what we're going to see. That is for sure. But
just to add in what you were saying, Pete, do you think there's any way? People in the chat are talking about what we were saying. David H says, "I love Willock and Joe together, but that has to be alternating left eight and left wing doesn't work really with Gordon." Do you think there's any way that we see? Is there any way at all that we see perhaps Gordon move to the right and then Big Joe playing on the left wing with Willock in the midfield? Do you think just to give the pure legs? Do you think there's any way that we see that, or do you think that's far too attacking for away from home?
I'd take that. I'd take that all day long. Joe Willett playing in midfield with his legs and running power. Joe Linton coming back in, but also making those darting runs on the left. That's what we've got Champions League football with, playing that type of football. I would take it, but then you got the question if you got Harvey Barnes sitting there. Again, not able to play. You've got Harvey Barnes and Gordon that can both play left. Joe Linton's probably third choice in that option because of the two you've got in front. You know, what you're sacrificing somebody to play that position, but I wouldn't be against it. I really wouldn't. We've got options and different styles and different positions that players can play. I would not be against it. I wouldn't be against Kelly playing right centre back. I wouldn't be against Joe Linton playing left wing of a front three, Gordon playing on the right, Barnes playing on the left, Gordon playing on the right. I wouldn't be against it at all. But this is the beauty of having your whole squad or close to your whole squad available, is that you've got choices. And I think last season when we lost, did we lose? We lost, we lost comfortably last season. We barely had a team to choose from because that's when the injuries were really kind of kicking in. We're in a different moment here. And the same again when we drew at St James's Park. I think we're in a different moment. So for me, I'm comfortable with is going there and giving them a really good game as well.
Do you like David H's suggestion there, Pete?
I think there should be a 5-minute window in every stream where we just reflect on how good. Well, I'm cool with that. If he keeps putting these performances in,
he was fantastic last week, mate. He was absolutely fantastic, Joe Linton. Really well. I realised how much we missed him last week. I just watched him and just like, this guy doesn't get the credit, does he? He doesn't get the credit from rivals in the Premier League. And I'm happy for that to continue because we don't want him to go anywhere. We don't want anyone to pick up on the fact that Joe Linton's so crucial to this team. You know, he doesn't get the credit as a central midfielder. People just see him as a failed striker, and that's it. And it's only when you watch him week in, week out, and you see the performances and the effort and the strength and the power, and he's so good on the ball. As soon as he's on that ball and he's traveling with the ball, no one's getting it off him. And then if the opposition have got the ball, he's like a terrier, isn't he? He just comes in like a train and just takes the ball off people. He was fantastic last week. Really, really was.
We'll name it the J7 section of the show, where we just give a little bit of a love into J7, and hopefully he can score or put a man of a match performance in again this weekend, so we continue that trend. That's what I say. But look, we'll leave it there. We'll wrap up the show for tonight. Massive thanks for you coming and tuning in, giving your opinions, your own opinions, your predictions. We'll see them coming through in the chat. We'll put them in as we're wrapping up the show. Massive thanks to you all for coming and tuning in tonight. Massive thanks for Tom Jordan for the Back of the Net Pro podcast for Bournemouth. Go check that out. They're going to be doing some content over the course of this weekend for the game against Bournemouth. So go check that out. We're going to be back with a reaction show on Sunday after the game.
At 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock. There you go. And we will be on time, all of it.
Yes.
But fingers crossed we're on before then if there's some breaking news on a transfer, although albeit I don't think there will be, but if there is a break in the transfers, we will be on before then at some point tomorrow, that is for sure. But massive thanks for everyone tuning in. Absolute pleasure as always. Any particular outro you want us to put on, Chris?
I mean, I always pick the Isaac, don't I? Should we do the Eddie Howe? He's going back to Bournemouth. Let's do the Eddie Howe.
Let's do it. I think that's nicely set there, Chris. But everyone in the chat, make sure you click the likes on the way out. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you tell a friend about Loaded Mag at NUFC. Watch all the content that's come back in the previous week, the Keith Downey show and others. Some great content on Loaded Mag, NUFC, and more to come. Let's hope that we break that hoodoo and we get the 3 points at the Vitality on Sunday. And of course, we do love playing away. Chris, say those words.
How'd you like that?
Take care, people.
drink it.